Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. Ahead of Semicon India 2024, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs Semiconductor Executives Roundtable, emphasizes that democracy and technology together can ensure the welfare of humanity. Battle of wits plays out amid Donald Trump-Kamala Harris face-off in Philadelphia. Harris rakes up unemployment figures to corner Trump. Trump criticizes inflation during Biden's term to get back. West imposes fresh sanctions on Iran for supplying Russia with ballistic missiles. Iran threatens proportionate action as Ukraine says it could cut ties with Tehran. Louisiana braces for life-threatening surge as tropical storm Francine intensifies to a Category 1 hurricane. Mandatory evacuations ordered from coastal areas. Schools closed. India is gearing up for a groundbreaking three-day event focused on the future of semiconductor technology. Before Semicon India 2024 kicks off in Greater Noida near the national capital, Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired Semiconductor Executives Roundtable at his residence. He discussed a wide range of subjects relating to semiconductor sector. He spoke about how the sector can further the development trajectory of the planet, also highlighted the reforms taking place in India, making the nation a great investment destination. With over 250 exhibitors from across the world, the event will position India as a potential global semiconductor hub. Here's more.
Themed Shaping the Semiconductor Future, Semicon India 2024 is a landmark event that aims to boost India's semiconductor ecosystem. With support from the Ministry of Electronics and Information and Technology and the India Semiconductor Mission, the exhibition is set to showcase the country's strides in electronics and semiconductor development. But the event is about more than just technology. It is about positioning India as a future leader in semiconductor manufacturing. Even though India's semiconductor industry is still in its early stages, the government has big plans. Several new semiconductor plants are under construction, including facilities in Gujarat and Assam. The Modi government has committed over $1 billion to boost the semiconductor and display manufacturing industry, with the aim of making India a self-reliant global power in this critical sector.
When Modi ji rolled out his vision about semiconductor nation, and subsequently then there were policies announced by very important two ministers, Ashwini Vaishnav-ji and Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji. They really thought through what India should do about semiconductor.
The Indian government's production-linked incentive scheme is a major driver behind this push, attracting investments and creating jobs. This industry has the potential to create 25,000 direct and 75,000 indirect jobs in the coming years. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also on many occasions emphasized how important semiconductor production is for India's long-term technology goals.
So far, as you know, we have had very good traction. So first project was Micron, which was approved. It's an ATNP. It is approved for almost 22,000 crores. And then came the Tata Fab. They are partnering with Taiwan foundry, one of the major foundry players, TSMC. And also Tata is coming up with one OSAT facility in Assam. Also CG Power is coming up with a OSAT facility in Gujarat. And their technology partner is Renesas Japan, which is a big name in semiconductors.
Semiconductors power everything from smartphones to cars. As India accelerates its manufacturing plans, this industry could be key to reducing import and India's dependency on other countries for this critical technology and in turn boosting local production. Dibyendu Mondal's report for DD India.
And top semiconductor CEOs expressed their appreciation after meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Semiconductor Executive Roundtable. CEOs appreciated India's commitment to the growth of the sector and said what has transpired is unprecedented, where leaders of the entire semiconductor sector have been brought under a single roof.
Modi's leadership, things are so nice that the whole world is coming with me to this summit.
Really excited and delighted by Prime Minister Modi's vision, consistency and foresight into what is needed from a semiconductor industry ecosystem development perspective for India.
We are really excited about the vision of the Prime Minister and how he's looking at the digital infrastructure for the future of our country and the Viksit Bharat, and the important role that semiconductors will play.
I think that what the Prime Minister is doing right now to elevate India on the global scale is what not only India needs, but what the world needs for India to be at the forefront.
It shows really a very strong commitment and dedication to make India a powerhouse in the area of semiconductor technology.
As you know, semiconductor is essential technology for all digital industries. And with Modi ji leadership, there is a big momentum, compared to 3 years ago.
In the last 2-3 years, the enthusiasm and the focus around the sector with clear strategy of how to and where to invest from design all the way to manufacturing. And right now, what I'm seeing, the interest is to go from a engineering center to create products and for both local and global consumption.
India has taken a huge step forward in the semiconductor industry, a lot of energy, a lot of progress.
The Prime Minister has shown an amazing vision in the semiconductor mission. No administration in the history of this country had the courage to create a right policy when it came to semiconductors.
The second edition of the International Conference on Green Hydrogen is being held in New Delhi on Wednesday. We now take you live to Prime Minister's address to the Hydrogen Conference.
Industry leaders and my dear friends, I send my warm greetings to all of you. It is a pleasure to welcome you to the second International Conference on green hydrogen. Friends, is going through a crucial transformation. There is a growing realization that climate change is not just a matter of the future. The impact of climate change is being felt here and now. The time for action is also here and now. Energy transition and sustainability have become central to global policy discourse. Friends, India is committed towards creating cleaner and greener planet. We were the first among G20 nations to fulfill our Paris commitments on green energy. These commitments were fulfilled 9 years ahead of the target of 2030. India's installed non-fossil fuel capacity increased nearly 300% in the last 10 years. Our solar energy capacity increased over 3,000% in the same period. But we are not resting on these achievements. We remain focused on strengthening existing solutions. We are also looking at new and innovative areas. This is where green hydrogen comes into the picture. Friends, green hydrogen is emerging as a promising addition to the world's energy landscape. It can help in decarbonizing industries that are difficult to electrify. Refineries, fertilizers, steel, heavy-duty transportation, many such sectors will benefit. Green hydrogen can also act as a storage solution for surplus renewable energy. India has already launched the National Green Hydrogen Mission in 2023. We want to make India a global hub for the production, utilization, and export of green hydrogen. The National Green Hydrogen Mission is giving an impetus to innovation, infrastructure, industry, and investment. We are investing in cutting-edge research and development. Partnerships between industry and academia are being formed. Startups and entrepreneurs who are working in this domain are being encouraged. There is also a great potential for a green jobs ecosystem to develop. To enable this, we are also working on skill development for our youth in this sector. Friends, climate change and energy transition are global concerns. Our answers also need to be global in nature. International partnership is critical for promoting green hydrogen impact on decarbonization. Scaling up production, minimizing costs, and building infrastructure can happen faster through cooperation. We also need to jointly invest in research and innovation to push technology further. In September 2023, the G20 summit happened in India. In this summit, there was a special focus on green hydrogen. The New Delhi G20 Leaders Declaration adopted 5 high-level voluntary principles on hydrogen. These principles are helping us in the creation of a unified roadmap. All of us must remember the decisions we make now will decide the life of our future generations. Friends, in such a crucial sector, it is important for domain experts to lead the way and work together. Particularly, I urge the global scientific community to come together to explore various aspects. Scientists and innovators can suggest changes in public policy to help the green hydrogen sector. There are also many questions that the scientific community can look into. Can we improve the efficiency of electrolyzers and other components in green hydrogen production? Can we explore the use of seawater and municipal wastewater for production? How can we enable the use of green hydrogen in public transport, shipping, and inland waterways? Exploring such topics together will greatly help green energy transition across the world. I am confident that this conference will help the exchange of many ideas on such issues. Friends, humanity has faced many challenges in the past. Each time, we overcame adversities through solutions that were collective and innovative. In the same spirit of the collective and innovative action that will guide us towards a sustainable future. We can achieve anything when we are together. Let us work to accelerate the development and deployment of green hydrogen. Once again, I send my best wishes to everyone involved in the second International Conference on Green Hydrogen. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressing the International Conference on Green Hydrogen being hosted by India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke about the manner in which green hydrogen has emerged as a promising energy option in the global energy landscape. He spoke about the manner in which India aspires to evolve and develop into a global green hydrogen hub. He also spoke about how the green hydrogen intervention is a crucial one in the times of climate change impact, whose results can be seen all around us, and he said that the time of action is here and now. He spoke about India's stride in the cleaner renewable energy sector, how India's non-fossil fuel capacity has increased by 300% in the past 10 years. Also, India's solar capacity has increased manyfold. Green hydrogen could be another area where India could, in fact, make a mark and appear as a global hub. As part of the conference, he invited stakeholders from all across the world to come together and invest energy and research into this cleaner form of energy. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar holds wide-ranging discussions on bilateral issues with his German counterpart in Berlin. UAE government has launched a visa amnesty program starting September 1st. And we'll bring you live updates from the Semicon India 2024 conference. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. During the much anticipated presidential debate, both Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris and Republican Donald Trump put forward their views on multiple issues rather fiercely. Kamala Harris put Republican Donald Trump on the defensive at a combative presidential debate with a stream of attacks on issues like abortion limits, his fitness for office, and marred legal woes, as both candidates sought a campaign-altering moment in their closely fought election. Harris kept her cool and did not get carried away by Trump's provocation. Immigration, abortion, employment, inflation, economy were the major issues that made much of noise. The debate began with introductory statement of Vice President and Democratic candidate Kamala Harris and ended with the last remarks of former US President and Republican candidate Donald Trump. Both Democratic and Republican candidates accused one another while also mentioning their agenda for the future. Kamala Harris accused Trump of destroying the economy, while Trump said he has done the best in American history to revive the economy. Trump mentioned his tax cuts and getting money to the Treasury from the NATO allies in lieu of huge expenses the US has been making on their protection. Kamala Harris said she would work for employment. Trump said he will end the Russia-Ukraine war even before taking the formal oath if he is elected. Trump termed Kamala's support on abortion as inhuman, calling it akin to executing the child who is about to be born. Trump sought to corner Kamala Harris on the issue of illegal immigration. He said criminals and terrorists were coming to the United States and he will close the border for them. Harris said Trump does not believe in democracy and he incited the mob to attack the Capitol Hill. He was defeated in the last presidential elections. Meanwhile, police officers arrested some protesters who marched in the streets of Philadelphia during the first presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. The nationally televised debate is occurring just 8 weeks before the November 5th election and days before early voting will start in some states. The encounter is particularly important for Harris, with opinion polls showing that more than a quarter of likely voters feel they do not yet know enough about her. American pop icon Taylor Swift extended her support to Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris following her presidential debate against former Republican President Donald Trump on Tuesday night. Swift announced her endorsement in an Instagram post, declaring she will cast her vote for Kamala Harris in the closely contested American elections on November 5th. Moving on, France, Germany and Britain have condemned Iran for transferring ballistic missiles to Russia, calling it a direct threat to European security. This comes after US Secretary of State Antony Blinken confirmed Russia had received the missiles and could use them in Ukraine within weeks. In response, European nations vowed to cancel air service agreements with Iran and pursue sanctions on Iran Air. The UK also announced sanctions on Russian cargo ships involved in transporting Iranian military supplies. Foreign Minister David Lammy warned that any missile transfers from Iran would prompt severe consequences. The European Union has vowed a strong response to Iran's transfer of ballistic missiles to Russia, calling it significant military escalation. EU Foreign Affairs spokesperson Peter Stano revealed that under the direction of Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell, a set of decisive and targeted measures against Iran has been presented to the EU's 27 members for approval. Meanwhile, Iran dismissed the allegations as ugly propaganda aimed at diverting attention from Western military support to Israel. On Tuesday, Kiev warned that it may cut diplomatic ties with Iran if Russia uses Iranian missiles in attacks on Ukraine, deeming such actions unacceptable. Pentagon spokesperson Major General Patrick Ryder has said on Tuesday that US confirmed reports that Russia has received ballistic missiles from Iran for its war in Ukraine. The Pentagon spokesperson said they believe dozens of Russian military personnel were trained in Iran to use these missile systems. According to Ryder, the US assesses the FAR-360, a type of close-range ballistic missile system, could be used within weeks against Ukraine, leading to deaths of even more Ukrainian civilians.
The United States has confirmed reports that Iran has transferred shipments of FATA-360 close-range ballistic missiles to Russia, which we assess could employ them within weeks against Ukraine, leading to the deaths of even more Ukrainian civilians. To echo our State Department and White House colleagues, this is a deeply concerning development, as this partnership between Iran and Russia threatens European security and illustrates how Iran's destabilizing influence reaches beyond the Middle East and around the world. Additionally, Russian support for Iran is destabilizing as well, as Moscow is sharing technology that Iran needs. We'll continue to monitor these developments alongside our allies and partners across Europe and the Middle East, and remain steadfast in our support to Ukraine's defense from the threat these missile systems may pose to the people of Ukraine.
Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, without singling out Iran, pledged on Tuesday to consolidate a strong worldwide response to any power helping Russia's war effort or inciting or prolonging the conflict, pitting Kiev against Moscow.
I want to say to everyone in the world who still wants to somehow help Putin, we will do everything, not just to defend our state and people, but to truly consolidate the world for strong responses to the incitement of war or any attempts to prolong it.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived for bilateral meetings in Brezza, Poland. Blinken is expected to discuss the country's defense and energy cooperation and their work as NATO allies to support Ukraine's defense. Earlier, Blinken met with UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Foreign Secretary David Lammy in London, where he discussed a range of critical issues, including efforts to support Ukraine as well as the Indo-Pacific, the AUKUS partnership and the Middle East. Blinken and Lamy will travel to Kiev on Wednesday, where they are expected to meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The trip to Kiev will be Blinken's fifth since the Russia-Ukraine conflict broke out. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, who is in Germany on a second leg of three-nation tour, interacted with members of German Parliament, Deutsche Bundestag in Berlin. The minister appreciated their insights on contemporary global issues. Jaishankar shared views on current global challenges and possibilities of new collaborations between India and Germany.
Germany is a crucial partner in accelerating our growth and development. India, in turn, can contribute to building reliable and resilient supply chains.
Speaking at the joint presser meet with his Berlin counterpart, External Affairs Minister Jaishankar said India has a four-point principle towards resolution of the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
Suggestions have been made from time to time. For us, this is not about a process or about being seen. What is important for us is the reality of the conflict that is taking place today. So if we are always open to any step that is serious, that is impactful, and that is, in our view, a step towards peace.
In response to the questions, the minister said India will deal with the government of the day in Bangladesh through diplomatic channels, not by commenting on media reports.
There's a change of government in Bangladesh, and we obviously deal with the government of the day. How we deal with that is through diplomatic channels, not necessarily through reports which may be reported by the press.
India and the United States participated in the third edition of the two-day IndUS-X summit in Silicon Valley, California on Monday. The IndUS-X initiative continues to vitalize US-India defense industrial cooperation and produce new innovations in technology and manufacturing by facilitating partnerships. The summit explored the opportunities to co-produce advanced military capabilities. The summit also aims to create new funding streams for defense technology development. IndUS-X enhanced US-India military interoperability in support of both countries' shared vision for a free and open Indo-Pacific. Defense Innovation Unit and India's Defense Innovation Organization signed an MOU that demonstrated a shared commitment to expanding cooperation in defense innovation. Let's now turn to other stories making news today. The attacks by wolves continue unabated in Uttar Pradesh's Barej district, even as the Forest Department launched a search operation to capture the man-eater animals. In yet another such incident in Mahasi region, an 11-year-old girl was injured when a wolf attacked her on Tuesday night. The incident has further heightened fear among locals in the region. To raise voter awareness among common masses ahead of the upcoming state assembly elections in North India's Jammu and Kashmir, and the district administration of Udhampur district has organized voters awareness rally under systematic voters education and electoral participation. Large number of devotees offered prayers at Mumbai's Lal Bagcha Raja Ganesh idol amidst the ongoing Ganesh Chaturthi festivities. The festivity is the oldest Ganapati Pandal in the city that is key highlight of the festival, attracting thousands of devotees who come to seek the deity's blessings. The Embassy of Japan organized a musical concert on Tuesday evening featuring renowned pianist Izumi Tateno, known for his exceptional skill of performing with left hand only. He is regarded as one of Japan's greatest pianists. Over a career that spans decades, he has performed in over 3,500 concerts worldwide and released 130 recordings. And still to come ahead on DD India News Hour. Venezuelan opposition says Edmundo Gonzalez could still return. In Bolivia, workers' union marched to Congress demanding approval for international loans. In Vietnam, death toll from Super Typhoon Yagi has risen to 141.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories. Ahead of Semicon India 2024, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs Semiconductor Executive Roundtable, emphasizes democracy and technology together can ensure welfare of humanity. Battle of wits plays out amid Donald Trump-Kamala Harris face-off in Philadelphia. Harris rakes up unemployment figures to counter Trump. Trump criticizes inflation during Biden's term to get back. West imposes fresh sanctions on Iran for supplying Russia with ballistic missiles. Iran threatens proportionate action as Ukraine says it could cut ties with Iran. Louisiana braces for life-threatening surge as tropical storm Francine intensifies to a Category 1 hurricane. Mandatory evacuations ordered from coastal areas. Schools closed. The second Asia-Pacific Ministerial Conference on Civil Aviation is being held in New Delhi. The two-day conference is co-hosted by International Civil Aviation Organization and Ministry of Civil Aviation, Government of India. The first ministerial conference of the Asia-Pacific region was organized in 2018 in Beijing, China. During the first conference, India volunteered to host the second one in 2020. However, due to COVID pandemic, the conference was postponed. The UAE government has launched a visa amnesty program starting September 1st. The initiative offers undocumented residents an opportunity to either regularize their status or leave the country without incurring heavy fines or legal repercussions. The scheme will run for 2 months and is creating significant buzz, particularly among the Indian community. Here's more.
For many, this represents a lifeline, the chance to stop living in fear and start anew. The Indian consulate in Dubai and the embassy in Abu Dhabi has been at the forefront in facilitating services for Indian citizens in the United Arab Emirates. Approximately 1,200 individuals seeking amnesty services have already been assisted by the consulate in Dubai.
Government of United Arab Emirates had announced an amnesty scheme for a period of 2 months starting from 1st of September. Now we are about just over a week into this program. We, in the past 1 week, have got inquiries from about 1,200 Indian nationals willing to avail the amnesty scheme. Consulate is fully prepared to extend all the necessary support to any Indian nationals willing to avail the amnesty scheme to either return back to India or regularize their stay in this country.
To streamline the process, the consulate has set up facilitation counters both at the consulate and at the Al Amir Immigration Center for amnesty-related procedures. The scheme has already seen an overwhelming response in its first week, with Dubai alone receiving nearly 20,000 applications. The 3.5 million strong Indian expatriate community is the largest ethnic group in the UAE, comprising roughly 30% of the country's population.
I am working here on behalf of FOI to help the people who are coming here for seeking amnesty. But I am here to help him. His name is Mohammed Masih. He is staying for 4 years without visa. So I want to let him to go to India back without any fine and every help we are trying to give him.
According to the Federal Authority for Identity, Citizenship, Customs and Ports Security, 88% of visa violators who applied during the first week chose to remain in the country. One of the most encouraging aspects of this scheme is that violators who choose to leave the country will not face any entry bans in future. As the amnesty scheme progresses, it is expected to provide relief to thousands of expatriates, with Indians likely to be among the largest beneficiaries. Vinod Kumar in Dubai for DD India.
Updates from the Israel-Hamas conflict now. A UN convoy carrying workers for a polio vaccination campaign in Gaza was held at a gunpoint at an Israeli military checkpoint. Spokesperson for UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, Stefan Dujarric, called the incident the latest example of the unacceptable dangers. The convoy was later released and the UN officials have confirmed the staff returned safely to a UN base.
Yesterday's incident involving a UN convoy stopped by Israeli forces is the latest example of the unacceptable dangers and impediment that humanitarian personnel in Gaza are experiencing. The convoy was carrying 12 staff members on their way to support the polio vaccination campaign in northern Gaza. Its movements were fully coordinated with Israeli forces and all details provided ahead of time. When the team was stopped at the Al-Rashid checkpoint, they were informed that Israeli forces wanted to hold 2 UN staff members in the convoy for questioning. The situation escalated very quickly, with soldiers pointing their weapons directly towards our personnel in the convoy. The UN vehicles were encircled by Israeli forces and shots were fired. The convoy was then approached by IDF tanks and a bulldozer, which proceeded to ram the UN vehicles from the front and from the back, compacting the convoy with the UN staff inside.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on Tuesday demanded an overhaul of Israeli military conduct in the occupied West Bank as they decreed the fatal shooting of an American protester, which Israel said was accidental. Israel's military says on Tuesday that its initial inquiry found it was highly likely its troops had fired the shot that killed her, but that her death was unintentional, and it voiced deep regret. U.S. President Joe Biden later told reporters that the fatal shooting of an American protester last week was apparently an accident.
Will you lift restrictions on the use of long-range weapons by Ukraine?
We're working that out right now.
Let's turn to the Ukraine-Russia conflict. In a significant development, Russia is on the verge of finalizing a landmark bilateral treaty with Iran. Russia Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu announced that the internal procedures needed for this major agreement are almost complete. With both nations' presidents set to sign the deal soon, this signals deepening ties between Moscow and Tehran as Russia seeks alliances with U.S. adversaries like Iran and North Korea, especially since the Ukraine war began. The U.S. accuses Iran of supplying ballistic missiles to aid Russia's war effort, a charge Moscow denies. U.S. President Joe Biden hinted on Tuesday that his administration may be reconsidering restrictions on Ukraine's use of long-range weapons in its war with Russia. The U.S. has so far been hesitant to provide or approve weapons capable of striking deep within Russian territory, fearing that it could lead to a dangerous escalation of the existing conflict.
Will you lift restrictions on the use of long-range weapons by Ukraine?
We're working that out right now.
Germany's government presented a plan to implement more rigorously European rules on asylum that would see more people turned away at its borders. This is a day after it announced it would start carrying out controls on all its land borders. The proposals include detaining asylum seekers while authorities determine whether Germany is responsible for processing their case with the help of Europe's shared fingerprint database. Germany's neighboring country, Poland, has already reacted to Germany's new border control plans, with its Prime Minister Donald Tusk calling the plan unacceptable. Berlin says it must tackle irregular migration due to overburdened public services and protect the public from threats such as Islamist extremism. Venezuelan opposition leaders said that presidential candidate Edmundo Gonzalez will remain a very clear voice pushing for change in the country despite fleeing to seek asylum in Spain. Exiled opposition members Antonio Ledesma and Leopoldo Lopez said that Gonzalez could also still return to take office on January 10th. Lopez called for oil and personal sanctions to be applied to his government by US and European Union. Ledesma insisted Gonzalez's flight from the country would strengthen the cause. Meanwhile, Venezuelan exiles, including Gonzalez's daughter Carolina Gonzalez, gathered outside the Spanish parliament on Tuesday as Spanish lawmakers debated a symbolic motion from the main opposition party to recognize Gonzalez as winner of the elections. The motion is expected to be approved on Wednesday. Demonstrations persisted outside the Mexican Senate on Tuesday night as lawmakers resumed discussions on judicial reforms. Mexico's Senate resumed debate at an alternative location after protesters broke into the Senate chamber mid-session. Mexico's major trading partner, the United States and Canada, have warned the changes could undermine the trade pact of the three countries and negatively impact investment. The reform also proposes reducing the number of Supreme Court justices to 9 from 11, shortening their term to 12 years and cutting required work experience from 10 to 5 years. Senators are expected to vote on the reform later, with debate likely to go into early hours on Wednesday. The backbone of the constitutional reform calls for election by popular vote of more than 6,500 judges and magistrates, including the Supreme Court. Violence in western Mexican state of Sinaloa sparked fear of intra-cartel war as one soldier and 2 civilians were killed on Monday in a shootout. The unrest has erupted in the wake of arrest of trafficker Ismael Elmeo Zambada in July. The veteran cartel leader Zambada alleged that a senior member of the Los Chapitos, another faction of the cartel, kidnapped him and then flew him to the United States against his will. Though calm has returned on Tuesday morning, but some shops had closed by midday. Algeria's presidential candidates who lost out to the incumbent Abdelmajid Tebboune filed appeals to the Constitutional Court on Tuesday, contesting the provisional result of the vote. Hassani, who heads the moderate Islamist party, the Movement of Society for Peace, was first to submit his appeal. Yusuf Al-Shishe, head of the centre-left Socialist Forces Front, FFS, later followed suit, accusing the Electoral Authority of forging the September 7th election result. Tebboune has been widely expected to breeze through the election and was focused instead on securing a high turnout. The Bolivian Workers' Center and supporters of Louis Art's government marched to the National Assembly demanding approval for international loans and bills that are blocked in the chamber. Demonstrators declared a constant vigil near the Bolivian Congress, pressurizing the parliament to approve credits amounting to as much as $1 billion, which Art's government insists on amid the foreign exchange crisis. The Bolivian opposition and the faction of the Socialist Movement Party have resisted approving these loans due to Bolivian state's high debt levels. Trade unions and social organizations are also urging Congress to pass pension law reform that would mandate retirement at the age of 65. Local banking institutions have imposed restrictions on financial transactions in dollars, marking the rise of so-called black market. Some weather updates now. Across the globe, tropical storm Francine became Category 1 hurricane as it churned towards the southern U.S. state of Louisiana on Wednesday. Governor Jeff Landry has declared a state of emergency, says the tornado will bring 10 to 20 centimeters of heavy rains, potential tornadoes and damaging winds to much of the central and eastern Louisiana. Authorities called for mandatory evacuation of residents in coastal communities. Schools were closed. Officials distributed sandbags. Louisiana was the site of one of the most devastating hurricanes in U.S. history, Hurricane Katrina, that killed more than 1,800 people in the year 2005. From U.S. to Vietnam, the death toll from Super Typhoon Yagi has risen to 141, while around 60 others are still missing. Heavy rains brought Typhoon Yagi have triggered deadly landslides and floods throughout northern region and the southeast region of the Asian nation. There has also been severe property damage and disruption to business and industry. Local authorities and functional forces are actively engaged in relief and rescue operations in the affected provinces and cities. The international community has not only praised Vietnam's efforts, but is also coming together to support the country in these efforts. International organizations including UNDP, UNICEF and WHO are collaborating with Vietnamese government to conduct field surveys and assess the damage and support needs in affected areas. Based on these assessments, specific and practical support plans will be formulated. The floodwaters from the Red River and Deong River continue to surge in Hanoi, submerging many areas of Red River's alluvial plains. Thousands of local residents have been urgently evacuated to safer locations. The neighborhood officers go check every small alley with a handheld speaker. In many residential areas, the waters have almost reached the roofs of houses along the river. According to local residents, this is the highest water level ever seen in the past 16 years. A dam collapsed on Tuesday in northeastern Nigeria, unleashing severe flooding that prompted evacuations and swept deadly reptiles from zoo into the communities in the area. The collapse of the Alau Dam in the state of Borno caused some of the state's worst flooding since the same dam collapsed some 30 years ago and prompted many residents to flee their homes. The dam was at full capacity due to unusually heavy rains. About 15% of the Borno state capital, Maiduguri, was underwater. However, no death toll from the flooding has been released as yet. At the Borno State Museum Park, the flooding killed some 80% of the animals, while an unspecified number of reptiles escaped. Floods in North Nigeria have killed more than 80% of animals in a large zoo with an array of wildlife from lions and crocodiles to buffaloes and ostriches. In Serbia, extreme weather conditions have decreased river Danube's water level, exposing sunken wrecks of explosives-laden Nazi ships near the port of Prahovo. 4 vessels dating from before 1950 have also come to light in Hungary's Danube-Drava National Park near Moax, where Danube's water level stood at only 1.5 meters on Tuesday. This is caused due to the lingering effect of severe heat waves and persistent drought in July and August this year. The wrecks can hamper river traffic during the low water levels. The Danube stood at 1.17 meters in Budapest on Tuesday, which compares with an all-time record low of around 0.4 meters registered in October of 2018. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time for all the action from the world of sports. The England cricket team on Tuesday named a 17-member squad for the 3-match test tour of Pakistan set to be played in October. Ben Stokes will be back as captain, while he still continues his recovery from hamstring tear that kept him out of the recent test series against Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, 8 players from the squad, including Ollie Pop and Joe Root, will return to Pakistan following the 3-0 Test Series victory in 2022. The venue for the 3-match series are yet to be confirmed, with an announcement expected from the Pakistan Cricket Board later this week. Iran earned a 1-0 win against the UAE in the third round of the Asian World Cup qualifier on Tuesday. Mehdi Qaedi, who currently plays his club football in UAE with Kalba, scored the game's only goal in the first half, stoppage time. The result puts Iran second in Group A, equal with Uzbekistan, who also boast a perfect 2 win from 2 matches. But behind on goal scored, Paolo Bento's UAE, meanwhile, sits third on the 3 points, having beaten 2-time reigning Asian Cup winners Qatar in the group opener. Japan thrashed Bahrain 5-0 in the reefer on Tuesday to secure a maximum points from their first 2 matches in the third round of Asian World Cup qualifying. Feyenoord striker Aisa Ueda opened the scoring from the penalty spot in the 37th minute before adding his second goal soon after the restart. Substitute Koki Ogawa completed the goal, glut to hand Hajime Moriyasu's side a comprehensive 5-0 defeat with a goal difference of +12 from their first 2 matches. Japan sits top of the standings on 6 points in Group C. Meanwhile, it was a reality check for Bahrain after upsetting Australia 1-0 in Sydney in their opening group match. The US Soccer announced on Tuesday that former Chelsea manager Mauricio Pochettino has been named the new coach of the United States men's team. The Argentine, who parted ways with the Premier League side Chelsea in May after 1 season in charge, will take the reins in the US ahead of the 2026 World Cup. The Cup will be co-hosted by Mexico, Canada and the US. Former Paris Saint-Germain and Tottenham Hotspur manager Pochettino joined Chelsea on a 2-year deal to replace interim manager Frank Lampard, but left the West London club after a turbulent campaign that saw them finish 6th. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen